Hello, 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 my loves. As always, I hope that this live or this replay finds you well and in excellent spirits. Welcome to another edition of the monthly Astro forecast for the month of October 2023 here in the Astro Room on YouTube. I am your host and your favorite astrologer, Mel of Divine Feminine Works, where I help people unlock their divinity and discover their magic. So if this is our first time meeting, welcome. And as always, if you are returning, welcome back. So this channel is everything astrology, spirituality, and manifestation. So if those are the things you like, if those are the things you love, or if those are the things you want to learn more about, don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well as that notification bell so you'll always be notified when I come out with new content. All right, my love. So this is going to be the monthly astro forecast for the month of October. And baby, when I tell you October is a month. October is a month. So this forecast is right on time. So get comfortable, get some drinks, get some snacks. You may even want to get a pen and paper to write some important stuff down because I'm going to be giving you a lot of information tonight that is going to hopefully shed some light on what October has in store for you. But most importantly, sort of help you prepare for what is to come because October, like I said, is a very intense month. But before I get into all of that, of course, we've got housekeeping and announcements. So let's let the good people over on Twitter know that we are live so they can come and join us. And speaking of live, if you are joining me live here tonight, thank you so much for tuning in. I sincerely appreciate you. Feel free to say hello on your way in. And also on your way in, hit that like button, all right? Not just because I want you to, but it helps with the channel and it helps disseminate this information to the people that need to receive it, all right? So thank you so much for doing that. And if you are watching this on the replay, I appreciate you just as much. Hopefully, this broadcast has a lot of information that you find valuable. And if that is the case, please consider hitting that like button as well as the subscribe and the notification bell. All right. All right. So, in terms of announcements, I sincerely apologize. It's been a week, and so I haven't been able to get out my usual moon series videos. So, I had planned to release the full moon in Aries video on yesterday, but that's just not happening this week. So, I'm going to try to compensate by giving you guys something else. Not sure what that is, but stay tuned so that you guys can get that information. All right. And let's see, what other announcements do we have? Oh, so like I said, October is a seriously intense month. All right. We've got 2 eclipses. So things are about to get really real, really quick. All right. And in an effort to help you guys, I started this new service, or I just launched this new service this week called the Storm Warning. All right. And basically, it is a transit report that shows you exactly how the eclipses in October are going to be affecting you. So it's written report plus a 30-minute Zoom consultation that includes intuitive messages. You can ask any questions you want regarding the report during our time together. It's super dope and super helpful. If you are interested, it will be linked to this video and will also be linked in the description box below. All right. All right. And if you are someone who's new to astrology and you have no idea what's going on, or perhaps you're not so new to astrology, but you're realizing that it's a lot of stuff to commit to memory, don't worry, I got you covered. I created this thing called the Astrology Basics Cheat Sheet, which basically gives you the quick and dirty on everything you need to know to start studying astrology, mainly the 4 pillars of astrology, which are the planets, the houses, the zodiac signs, and the aspects. All right. It is an 11-page PDF document that gives you a summary on all of these things so you can start committing them to memory, because regardless of what anyone says or doesn't say, astrology is indeed a science, and like any science, requires a good deal of study. So to get you to start studying, I created this cheat sheet. So if you're interested, the link to that will be in the description box below. All right, my love. So, like I said, October. Now, this time of year, I noticed that a lot of people like to call it spooky season, right? Because October is all about Halloween, and yes. But October also has 3 other S's this month, according to me. It's spicy, it's shifty, and it is sexy. All right. There's a lot of energy going on in October. Mainly the eclipses. The eclipses are, they are what they are. It is the universe's way of shifting things in our lives. A lot of times when we don't or can't make certain moves, the universe does it for us, whether it's putting things in our path that we need or removing obstacles so we can move forward. And so eclipse energy tends to be very shifty. It tends to be very erratic. It tends to be very electric. So if you're feeling this sense of excitement, right? I think I mentioned this in the weekly astro forecast that I did on Monday. There's this undercurrent of excitement. There's also this undercurrent of electricity. Some of you may be feeling anxious. Maybe your sleep patterns, especially with this full moon in Aries coming up, I find that I have a lot more energy, right? But definitely in October, that eclipse energy, you're going to start to feel that real early, okay? And again, it is the universe's way of cleaning house, of getting us on the right path, and moving things around in our lives for better or for worse, okay? Excuse me. Apart from that, so we've got the eclipses, we've got Mercury moving twice, we've got Venus finally leaving Leo after being there for 4 long months. So we're definitely going to be feeling a shift, especially when it comes to relationships and when it comes to money. Those are the two hot button topics that are going to have a slightly different energy signature this month because they're going to be moving into Virgo. Let's see what else do we have. Mars is also going to be changing signs, and that's partially why I call October sexy, because there's going to be a lot of Scorpio energy also, and you all know how Scorpio energy can be. It's sexy, it's sultry, it's mysterious, perfect for spooky season. But with the combination of the astrology this month, I feel like good for sex too. I'm just saying, just keeping it real. So again, take that information as you will and do with it as you will. Okay. So without further ado, let's get into the highlights and see what we've got going on this month. So first up, we have what I like to call acts of service. Okay. And this is Venus in Virgo. So you know the whole 5 love languages? Venus in Virgo would be acts of service. So Virgo is a very service-oriented sign. And so when Venus is in Virgo, Venus being the sign of relationships, we focus on service to others. We focus on, love sort of equates to service. Venus in Virgo is not as exciting. It's not as main character energy as Venus in Leo was. I think that we've all gotten kind of comfortable with Venus in Leo. And now things are sort of going to get a little mundane, a little less sexy, a little more organized and practical, right? That's the energy signature of Virgo. Think of it this way. When it comes to love and money, you know how Labor Day still feels like summer, and then the Tuesday after Labor Day, doesn't it feel like, okay, back to reality? That's kind of how we're going to feel with relationships with Venus in Virgo. So get prepared. But it's a really great placement. Well, sort of. It's a sort of a great placement when it comes to organizing yourself, especially when it comes to money. So keep that in mind. Next, we have what I like to call universe take the wheel, and this is the eclipses. So typically, at least over the last couple of eclipse seasons, including the earlier eclipse season we had in April, you usually have like October, November, like you sort of split the eclipses, over 2 months. They're 2 weeks apart, but you'll usually have one in October, one in November. But this year, we've got both in October. So it's back-to-back eclipses 2 weeks apart. And yeah, it's just the universe's way of shifting things in our lives. However, this particular eclipse season is sort of a big deal because we've got one story completely ending. I'm not even going to say a story. I'm going to say a book that is completely ending and another book that is underway, that's starting. So we're kind of in this transition period where we're finally about to close the door on a particular area of our life and move on completely to a new one. All right. So again, shifty. Don't forget the 3 S's for October. What were they? I just said don't forget and I forgot. Spicy, shifty, and sexy. All right. The eclipses is the shifty part of that. All right. And then finally, we have sexy season. We've got Scorpio season. And I say that because we have the sun moving into Scorpio. Mercury is going to be moving into Scorpio, but Mars is also going to be moving into Scorpio, which is significant because Mars is the ruler of Scorpio, at least the traditional ruler of Scorpio. So Mars being in its home sign with the sun also being there plus Mercury, it's like that Scorpio energy is going to be intense this year, probably more so than the last couple of years. Okay, so interesting stuff nonetheless. All right, so let's take a look at what we've got going on for October. All right, so first up, we've got Mercury moving into Libra. Then we've got Venus making her way into Virgo. Thereafter, we've got Pluto going direct in Capricorn. So now Pluto's going to be on the forward trajectory as it sort of gets ready to leave Capricorn sort of permanently and make its way into Aquarius, which will happen in January. Then we have Mars moving into its home sign of Scorpio. The first eclipse of the month, which is a solar eclipse in the sign of Libra. Thereafter, we've got Mercury in Scorpio, the sun moving into Scorpio, and we close out the month with a lunar eclipse in Taurus. All right. Good stuff. Good stuff. I promise. All right. So let's get into the details and see exactly what's really good for October. All right. So first up, Mercury in Libra, and this is going down on October 4th. So when we've got Mercury in Libra, there is this air and this energy. Well, yes, air, because Libra is an air sign. So there's a lot of communication. There's a lot of emphasis on our communication, sort of our one-to-one communication with people. So when it comes to your conversations, when it comes to your text message, emails, like there may be a ramp up with that, particularly when it comes to your personal relationships, okay? Now, Libra is a sign of balance. It's a sign of fairness. So a lot of the energy signature of Mercury in Libra has everything to do with negotiating, settling, coming to a compromise, agreement. This is the type of transit that is great for legal work. It's great for contracts. It's great for things where people can come together and work toward a particular goal with an eye towards fairness, right? Where everyone can win, where everyone can benefit, right? It's also about being diplomatic and friendly, right? Libra is a very social sign. When you have a social planet like Mercury having everything to do with communication and ideas, when Mercury is in Libra, this is when people are a lot more social. This is when people talk to each other more, socialize more, go out more, all of that good stuff. Apart from that, one of the other things that I love about this particular transit is its ability to bring peace. Everything about Libra is like mediation. It's all about Libra is like the referee. And so when it comes to having Mercury in Libra, if you're looking to mend relationships, I feel like Mercury in Libra is a great transit to do that. If you're looking to sort of help people figure things out, right? Like sort of being a mediator for people, this is also a great transit for that. I don't know about you, but I happen to know a lot of Libras, and the Libras that I know, they always have people coming to them for advice. Like whether it's relationship advice, whether it's business advice, like they always have people coming to them for counsel. And so if you're looking to counsel people, if you're looking to, Mercury also has a lot to do with commerce. And so if you're looking to start a business, perhaps, you're going to want to look at your particular chart, but Mercury in Libra is a great transit to start like a consulting business, a counseling business, anything like that would kind of thrive under this transit. So keep that in mind. Now, here's the thing. Mercury, I basically just talked about all the positives. And I guess the negative of Mercury in Libra is people pleasing, passive aggressiveness, and superficiality. No shade to Libras, but Libras tend to be quite superficial. Keeping everything on the surface, wanting everyone to like them, wanting things to look and sound a certain way, even if it's a mess underneath, right? So you may want to avoid that, or take I don't want to say take what people say with a grain of salt, but If everyone's sort of being superficial, you kind of know what to do with that. One of the other sort of negatives of this particular transit is that it breeds indecisiveness. While Libra is great at being the referee and being the mediator, when it comes to picking a side, when it comes to making a decision, Libra tends to be a little indecisive. So you may find that it's a little more difficult for you during this transit to make decisions or to stick to decisions that you've made. Okay, so that's definitely something to keep in mind. And again, you're not going to want to people please. Again, Libra is kind of known for that. So you're going to want to, as best you can, you're going to want to try to be decisive and try not to just say things that people want to hear or just say things to keep the peace. Meanwhile, you're bottling up your true feelings, right? Like, and what you really think about things. So those are some of the things to avoid. However, Mercury is not going to be in Libra for too long, just about 2 weeks. So really short transit, but I feel like the best use of the energy would be to anything having to do with contracts, negotiations, group work, cooperations, collaborations. All of that would thrive while Mercury is in Libra. So you may want to just take advantage of that while the energy is available. All right. So then next up, we've got Venus moving into Virgo on October 8th. So this is, I'm not going to say it's a big deal, but it's sort of a big deal because Venus has been in the sign of Leo for 4 months, which is unusually long for Venus. Venus typically stays in a sign for like 30 days, a month, maybe a little longer than that, right? But because Venus was going retrograde, Venus has been chilling in Leo for quite some time. And with Venus in Leo, it was all about romantic relationships, maybe in relationships with children or regarding children, your inner child, your creativity. But by and large, it had a lot to do with romantic relationships. And so we're finally going to be shifting out of that energy. And we're going to be moving into Virgo, which has everything to do with service. Now, being a Virgo sun, I say this all the time, and I don't mean it in a bad way. Virgo energy is not like sexy. Well, not traditionally sexy. It's very much concerned about your daily routine, mundane tasks, perfecting yourself, perfecting your craft and your work. It's also about being of service. And so when Venus is in Virgo, Venus having everything to do with relationships and also money, among other things. It's really about getting organized with your money. Like, this is a very good time to take stock of your financial situation, get your paperwork in order, all that good stuff. But being of service to others will likely have you feeling good. And you might find that that's just where your focus is, or that's sort of where a lot of your activity is centered around during this transit. Okay. Love itself, like the concept of love, it also takes on a very practical nature. Leo energy is very main character. It's very, look at me. It's very attention seeking. It's very warm and generous also. Virgo is not so warm and fuzzy. Virgo is very like, okay, well, we're in love and this is fine, but what does that mean? What is our daily routine like? What do you do in the house? What do I do in the house? What do we do together? What are we going to eat for dinner? Like, that is love, Virgo style, right? And so everything about love, when it's in Virgo, when Venus is in Virgo, sort of requires us to think about it more logically. Like, things have to make sense. Venus in Virgo is not about love for love's sake, or, like, oh, this is my soulmate, or, oh, this person, like, we're in love and it's so romantic. Virgo is like, does this person look good on paper? Like, can I live with this person? Can I cohabitate with this person? I don't like how they eat cereal. Maybe this isn't going to work. Like, it has to be very rational. Love has to make rational sense when Venus is in Virgo. So when it comes to existing relationships, I feel like, you focus more on the day-to-day stuff, basically. It's not going to be this very whirlwind romance or, a dozen roses every day. It's just going to be like, okay, are you going to take out the trash today? Or thank you for taking out the trash today. Or we have to go food shopping today. Let's go together. Like, it's the practical side of love, right? Now, if you are looking to get into a relationship, or if you happen to start a relationship while Venus is in Virgo, it likely won't be very romantic. It's not going to be one of those situations where someone sort of sweeps you off your feet or sort of stops you dead in your tracks. It may be someone that you meet at work, like it may be like a work husband or a work wife kind of situation. It may also be someone that's just, it could be more like, I wouldn't say it'd be more like friend vibes, but it's like someone you would meet while you are engaging in your everyday activity. So maybe you're going to the post office and you meet somebody. Maybe you're going to the grocery store and you meet someone in a practical sort of way. Not to say that the relationship wouldn't work, but sort of how you come together might be just very practical, mundane, and kind of boring, right? But we need that sometimes. Now, here's the other thing. When it comes to relationships with Venus in Virgo, partners tend to be nitpicky, tend to be very critical, tend to criticize, right? Because Virgo has everything to do with perfection. So when Venus is in Virgo, especially when our relationships are sort of influenced by this transit, we tend to be hypercritical of ourselves and our partners. So that's something to keep in mind, because while it may be good, while maybe it may be good for you to be critical of yourself because that's what helps you improve, sort of projecting that energy onto your partner may not always be the best thing, right? Not everyone responds positively to negative reinforcement. So just keep that in mind. That could breed resentment, or it could breed conflict at some point in time. But by and large, when it comes to this transit, it's really the practical side of love and being of service, right? I said before, when you talk about the 5 love languages, acts of service would be Venus and Virgo. Like, I love you, so I'm taking out the trash, like that kind of thing, right? Not sexy, but necessary. All right, let's keep it moving. Next up, we've got Pluto going direct in Capricorn, okay? And this is going down on October 10th. So Pluto has been retrograde for a couple of months, right? And because it's the farthest planet, well, it's debatable whether it's a planet or not, but it's the farthest celestial body in our solar system. Its retrograde periods, we don't necessarily feel it very personally. We see it play out more on a societal scale, let's say. However, Pluto retrograde in Capricorn allowed us to examine our own inner structures, meaning, okay, let's put it this way. And this is what I'm being shown right now. Capricorn, so every zodiac sign represents or is associated with a different part of the body. And Capricorn is associated with the bones, specifically the skeletal system. So your skeletal system allows you to stand up. It's what structures you, right? So think of it this way. When Pluto is in Capricorn, Pluto has everything to do with transformation. When Pluto is retrograde in Capricorn, we're sort of examining our skeletal structure. We're examining what keeps us grounded. What is our foundation built on, right? So this may have anything to do with how you were raised, your faith, your religion, societal conditioning. I feel like when Pluto was retrograde in Capricorn, a lot of those things sort of came to our purview. Like our attention was turned to those things, not only within ourselves, but in society as well, right? You have people, there's like a mass exodus when it comes to religion. There's also a mass exodus when it comes to spirituality. Like people are going both ways right now. And it's all about that structure, right? Some people are re-examining societal conditioning, some of the things that you've been brought up with, that you've been raised on. You're like, yeah, this doesn't make sense anymore, right? That's Pluto retrograde. But now Pluto is going to go direct in Capricorn. And apart from being about transformation, think of Pluto like a wrecking ball. Pluto destroys, it just decimates things in order to pave the way for new things. Things that no longer serve us are being destroyed. And you see that going on in society, right? When it comes to government, right? Like we're on the brink of a supposed government shutdown, right? government is dismantling, big business is dismantling. All of those things are ruled by Capricorn. And Pluto is like that wrecking ball that's sort of getting rid of everything that can't come with us into this new future, this future that is of a higher vibration here on Earth, right? So now that Pluto's going direct, Pluto's going to continue doing that. And this is Pluto's sort of last pass through Capricorn before it makes its way into Aquarius in January. So this last pass is that last pass of the wrecking ball. You're going to see a lot more of what's been going on. But a lot of it is going to be external now because Pluto is no longer retrograde. So that's pretty much the skinny on Pluto direct in Capricorn. All right. Next up, we've got Mars entering its home sign of Scorpio on October 12th. Okay. If there was one word to describe Mars in Scorpio, well, I have a couple of one words. Okay. I'm hearing fire. I'm hearing dumpster fire. And I'm hearing a fire. No, it's more than a couple of words. Excuse me. It's like the fire at the bottom of the ocean, right? It's this. Scorpio's a water sign. Mars has everything to do with fire. It's like fire and water, but they don't douse each other. Like the water doesn't douse out the fire. Like normally it does, but the way that Mars in Scorpio operates, it's this intensity, it's this passion, it's this drive, it's a dumpster fire. I don't know why I keep hearing that, but so be it. So Mars will be in Scorpio from October 12th to November 24th, okay? And this is about being very driven and focused on your desires, particularly sexual desires, okay? So this is feeling very sexy. This is feeling very, you get it, right? But also it's not just your sexual desires, it's your desires, period. And the way that Mars in Scorpio operates, it's like, it's not just thinking about what you want. It's really feeling this yearning for it, feeling this deep desire, this deep passion for it, right? It's very palpable. It's very visceral almost. It's very intense to say the least, okay? Now, there's also this I guess element of, I lost my train of thought. Oh, when it comes to our emotions, there's also this element of wanting to understand them a lot deeper, like being very driven to understand them. This is the transit that is absolutely perfect for shadow work. Because not only are, the energy of Scorpio is all about the shadow. It's all about the inner world. It's all about the depths of the bottom of the ocean, right? Mars is going to have you feeling motivated, right? Especially if you find that during the time of this transit, you have random emotions coming up, or you have repressed emotions coming up. Mars in Scorpio is going to give you the motivation to want to understand that at a very deep level. Scorpio energy also has a lot to do with truth seeking, but sort of uncovering the truth. And with Mars there, it's like being very adamant, being very motivated, being very driven to get to the bottom of things. So investigation, research, all of these things are great and will thrive while Mars is in Scorpio. Okay. So definitely keep that in mind. Let's see, what else do we have here? It may also have you feeling very attracted to the dark side of people. Mars in Scorpio has a way of penetrating the surface. It has a way of allowing you to really tap into what's not being said and sort of reading between the lines and sort of fishing out and filtering the darker side of people and maybe even being attracted to that. Now, this there's something about this transit that I want to say is slightly dangerous. Okay. It can be dangerous in a way, it can be dangerous in a very alluring sort of way, in a magnetic sort of way. It can be dangerous in an obsessive sort of way, in a violent sort of way. This transit can really go left very quickly. Okay. It also brings the heat, right? Mars has everything to do with fire. And so when it comes to confrontations, when it comes to conflicts, whatever is said is going to be felt very deeply. I feel like people are going to be, it's going to be easy for you to really strike someone where it really hurts, or really press someone's buttons to really make them feel it. So you may have a lot of people acting out in anger. And because Mars, it's in its home sign, Mars can really fuck shit up intensely. So you're going to want to be mindful of conflicts, of confrontations, because not only can they really escalate, but they can also cut very deeply. And you can feel it very deeply. Like these are the type of conflicts and confrontations that are traumatic, or that really wounds you to your core. So you're going to want to be very careful. Careful about hurting others, and careful about allowing yourself to be hurt by others. Like this is one of those things where you don't want to go toe to toe with people, because someone's going to get real hurt, whether it's physical or whether it's emotional. So definitely keep that in mind. Now, the darker side of Scorpio has everything to do with power plays, manipulation, jealousy, obsession, possessiveness. All of that thrives with Mars and Scorpio. So you're going to want to be very careful, right? It's like some fatal attraction type shit. So be very, very careful of who you sleep with, because you might not be able to get rid of them. You might get into some relationships that are real hot and heavy, and then before you know it, you've got a stalker situation going on. Like it's real out here with Mars and Scorpio. So you're going to want to be very, very, very careful. Yeah, it also lends itself to, like, people won't know how to chill. This goes back to what I was saying about conflicts and confrontation. Like, it's one thing to have a disagreement, right? To have a verbal disagreement. But Mars and Scorpio, like, they're out for blood, perhaps literally. So please be careful out there. Intimacy is great with Mars in Scorpio. You can really cement, let me not say cement, because Mars energy is very quick. So I'll say you can really have you can create strong bonds with people, intimate bonds with people. But again, the flip side of that is not being able to let go. Okay. And just something I heard just now as I was saying that, like, definitely be mindful and keep your spiritual protection game on point. This is the time when you're going to want to be heavily guarded spiritually, because this type of transit, like, perfect for binding spells, perfect for dark magic, black magic, like, that stuff is real. And those who know exactly when to do stuff like that. And this is one of those transits that stuff can definitely go down. So you're going to want to keep yourself spiritually protected. You're going to want to avoid certain things and certain people, because it not only will set you off, but it could be dangerous, either emotionally or even physically. Okay, so keep that in mind. But by and large, Mars in Scorpio is sexy. So allow yourself to feel sexy. It's great for dating and sex, right? But again, be mindful of, like, crazy attachments and obsessions. But this is one of those transits that definitely keeps the month very interesting. All right. And speaking of interesting, let's move on to a super interesting topic, which is the solar eclipse in Libra, which is going down on October 14th. So this is the first eclipse of the month. Okay. And it's going down in Libra. So long story short, eclipses happen on the lunar nodes, the north node and the south node. So earlier in the year, in July to be exact, the nodes shifted signs, or they transited signs. They went from Taurus and Scorpio to Aries and Libra. So the Aries Libra axis has everything to do with relationships. It's me versus we, right? So this new moon solar eclipse in Libra has everything to do with relationships, right? And it's a new moon solar eclipse, meaning that it's happening at the new moon phase of the lunar cycle. So it's about newness. It's about new relationships or new aspects of relationships, okay? Now, the energy is going to be quite mixy, right? Because this is going down at 21 degrees Libra, which is the number 3. And the numerology of the number 3 has everything to do with mixy, erratic, childlike kind of energy. So suffice it to say, this particular eclipse has everything to do with new relationships. But keep in mind that typically a new start is preceded by an ending. So don't be surprised if you experience an ending with respect to a relationship, right? Not to say that if you're in a relationship, you're going to break up or something like that. It could just be a certain aspect of your relationship that's going to end, right? Perhaps, right, depending on what your particular situation looks like, your natal chart, perhaps it's the ending of being single and the beginning of being married, right? That's a nice way of looking at it. That's definitely emblematic of like eclipse energy, or, getting engaged around this time or something like that, right? That's definitely how it could play out. Could play out in a variety of ways. However, it's going to be a situation where transformation is going to be a major theme as it pertains to relationships, okay? So this could be perhaps the need for you to transform individually as opposed to being in a partnership, right? Like I said, it's a variety of ways that this could play out. However, there's going to be a lot of communication centered around this particular eclipse. And there's also going to be endings that lead to new beginnings, okay? But in a major way. The thing with eclipses is that the energy is super erratic. I know for me, if I look back at the last couple of years of my life around the eclipses, wild shit has happened, like completely wild. Even when I remember the last eclipse we had, which was in May of this year, I was like, oh, okay, like I survived. Like I survived this eclipse season unscathed. And then like maybe like 3 days after the eclipse, some crazy shit happened. So it could be very surprising. It could be very unexpected. But the thing about anything that happens around eclipse time is that it typically feels very fated, especially if you're on this spiritual journey, especially if you know, right? You know that, okay, this is hard, or this is challenging, or this is surprising, but I know that it's for my highest good. I know that it's taking me to where I need to go, and it's helping me become who I need to be, right? So you get it, but it's like things just come out of left field sometimes with eclipses. So brace yourself, especially because it's going to be squared to Pluto. There's going to be endings, transformations, like things. Whenever we're talking about Pluto, we're not talking about, just a change. We're talking about transformation. We're talking about rebirth, regeneration, or death and destruction, right? Not to scare you, but it's change, it's transformation that's profound and usually like kind of permanent, like big deal kind of change. But again, it's a solar eclipse, so it's about newness. And some of us need to relinquish control. Some of us need to like you see what I'm doing with my hands? I'm like at a loss for words. Like you have to let go. You have to open your hands. Like stop holding on to things so tightly. Relinquish control, because that's what's going to bring in this new beginning. If you're holding on like this, if you're resistant to change, eclipses will snatch your edges and drag you. Okay? They will, especially if you're resistant to them. Okay? So it's really important that you surrender and allow whatever is going to happen to happen. Allow things to play out. Eclipse season is the time when I like eclipse season because it's one of those, it's a time when you don't necessarily have to do much. There are a lot of people that will tell you, don't do any spell work, don't do any manifestation work. Like, I'm not necessarily, and I've said that before. I'm not necessarily going to say that now. What I like to say now is that it's like when literally spirit takes the wheel. So allow spirit to drive and just be a passenger, be an observer, right? This is not the time for you to be manipulating shit. This is the time for you to be like, okay, spirit, you got this. Let me let the dust settle, see what everything looks like, and then proceed. So it's one of those situations. Okay. Then on October 22nd, we've got Mercury moving into Scorpio. So at this point, we've got Mars in Scorpio, and now we've got Mercury in Scorpio. So this is really a continuation of that Mars energy, although it's not as fiery and as dangerous. It's more so about our thoughts and our communication taking a more substantive nature. If you remember what I said before, especially with Mercury in Libra energy can be very superficial. It can be people pleasing, and it's very much like, okay, I want everyone to get along, or I want everyone to like me, right? Scorpio energy is almost the exact opposite. Scorpio is like, this is who I am, this is my truth, I'm authentic, and then that's it. Either you like it or you don't. Mercury in Scorpio is about getting to the bottom of things. It's about investigating things. It's about taking a logical and sort of left brain approach to your emotions. Like I said before, Scorpio energy, it's like the deepest depths of the ocean. And that's where our subconscious is. That's where some of us have like a Pandora's box, right? And anytime we've experienced any sort of trauma, we've experienced any sort of wounding, we kind of just put it in the box, right? We put it in the box, close the box, and throw away the key. Mercury in Scorpio is like, all right, let me take a deep sea diving expedition to the bottom of the ocean and retrieve that Pandora's box and open it up and examine what's in it. And think about, okay, how did this happen? Why did this happen? What does this mean? Like, understanding your wounds, understanding your trauma, making logical sense of it is basically the quintessential energy signature of Mercury in Scorpio. Okay. When it comes to conversations, this is like the best time to have deep and substantive conversations. So, I said before about Mars in Scorpio, it can really form new intimate bonds. When Mercury is in Scorpio, you can do the same with communication. So, I said before, I was talking about Venus in Virgo, and I said that when you have a relationship with Venus in Virgo, like if you start a relationship while Venus is in Virgo, it's very service oriented and really focused on mundane tasks, right? Let's say you start a relationship while Mercury is in Scorpio. I feel like your communication with this person would be very substantive. It would be very deep. It's not just about what's your favorite color. It's like, what are your daddy issues or what are your mommy issues, right? Like, you can really get to the heart of someone in terms of their repressed emotions, how they feel, or just getting to know them just better. Right? Again, it's deep conversations. It's understanding people's motivations, right? To sum up the energy signature of Mercury in Scorpio, I can sum it up in one word, and that would be the question, why? The question, why? And continuing to ask the question, why, right? Like, when kids want to know something and they'll ask you, right? And you'll give an answer and they'll be like, but why? And then you further explain, and they're like, but why? And then you further explain. That is the essence of Mercury in Scorpio. That's why it's all so good for shadow work, because understanding the why and the why and the why until you get to the very bottom of your soul, essentially, is the essence of shadow work. So it's great for that. It's also, Mercury in Scorpio is also great for your intuition. Now, it's not your intuition as in like aha moments or flashes of insight. It's more of like understanding your gut feelings and listening to those gut feelings. Like, you meet someone and you're like, I don't know. I have this feeling about them. I just can't put my finger on it. Like that's sort of Mercury in Scorpio. It's like listening to your gut, listening to your gut intuition. Okay. Let's see what else. On the negative side of Mercury in Scorpio, you have going to dark places mentally. Scorpio energy has everything to do with the underworld. It also has to do with like the uglier side of life. And when a planet like Mercury is in Scorpio, our thoughts can get very dark, or we find ourselves attracted to a lot of dark things, right? Like it's no coincidence that Halloween is during Scorpio season, and typically around Halloween, Mercury is in Scorpio. That's why you have all of these horror movies, all of these, and not for nothing, like side note, a lot of these movies that come out right now are just like crazy. Like I'm someone who's not really into horror movies, but some of these horror movies, like they're just gory and disgusting and just, oh, it's crazy. But Mercury in Scorpio has you attracted to dark things. It may take your mind in a dark place. Hence shadow work. Sometimes shadow work can be slightly scary because we are sort of meant to confront the things that hurt us or traumatize us. And in doing so, it has the potential to kind of re-traumatize us, right? So tread carefully with shadow work, especially when Mercury is in Scorpio. But I think some of the best ways to use the energy is to investigate, right? It's also to study and research occult topics. So things like astrology, things like the occult, spell work, witchcraft, all of that stuff, like all of that stuff, studying those, researching those while Mercury is in Scorpio, it's almost like you are going to understand it better. And not just understand it mentally, you'll sort of get it internally. Okay. One of the other things that is particularly interesting with Mercury and Scorpio is the power of persuasion. Scorpio energy is magnetic. Scorpio attracts things. And with Mercury having everything to do with communication, your communication style can be very alluring. It can be very magnetic. It can be very persuasive, which can work wonderfully for you depending on how you're using it. So, if you need to persuade people, if you need to convince people of something, when Mercury is in Scorpio, it's a great time to do that, especially coupled with Mars in Scorpio. This is like reeling people in with sex, alluring people with sex. Like, and then, how you speak to them, your tone of voice, like, definitely if you need something, you better turn up the heat while Mercury is in Scorpio because you're definitely going to get it. All right. All right. And then next up on the 23rd, we have the sun moving into Scorpio, signaling Scorpio season. And this is pretty standard, right? Whenever we're talking about Scorpio season, we're talking about pretty much everything I've just been explaining. Has everything to do with deep emotions, things that are hidden, things that are secret, getting to the bottom of things, really feeling things, being substantive, being attracted to or having an interest in the darker side of life, all of that good stuff. But one of the other qualities of Scorpio that often gets overlooked is the healing potential. Scorpio can be very healing, but it's almost like I sort of alluded to this before, but there are some therapists that sort of want to re-traumatize you to help you heal through the trauma. That's kind of how Scorpio energy as healing works. It's kind of like you have to really feel it and feel the ugliness, feel the hurt in order to get through it. And that in itself is very cathartic and very healing. And in doing so, that's how you transform. It's not just thinking about, okay, this is what happened to me. Sometimes we have to feel it. But we have to process it on a much deeper level. And that's exactly what Scorpio does. So Scorpio season is a great time for transformation. And you're going to want to look at where Scorpio is in your natal chart. This is where you can have profound transformation. So let's say you are a Scorpio rising. When the sun is in Scorpio, that's hitting your first house. If you want to seriously transform your health or your physical body, that would be the time to do it. Rather than waiting for January 1st when the gym is packed and everyone wants to lose weight or gain muscle or whatever, for you as a Scorpio rising, you would want to start at the end of October. That would be when it would be more conducive for you to start losing weight or getting more fit, right? So again, look at where Scorpio is in your chart. This is where you have the ability to really transform. But understand that the way the Scorpio energy transforms, it can be ugly, it could be dirty, it could be hurtful, right? It could be really intense. But you kind of got to go through the underworld so that you can rise and ascend, right? That's how it works. Okay. So it's the sun in Scorpio. And then finally, we close out the month on October 28th with the second eclipse of the month, which is a lunar eclipse in the sign of Taurus. Okay. Excuse me. So remember, I said before that October is a month where we're closing out one chapter and opening up another. So we started working on our new chapter at the solar eclipse in Libra 2 weeks earlier. Now, this lunar eclipse in Taurus, this is the final chapter. This is the last page of the book when it comes to the Taurus Scorpio season, right? Now, I say season because when we're talking about eclipses, eclipses happen on an axis roughly over 18 months. So you have 18 months of tag team eclipses in two signs, and it creates this story in your life, right? So you're going to want to look at where Taurus and Scorpio are in your natal chart. This is where the showdown has been from late 2001 until now. And finally, the chapter is closing. Okay. So this is going to be a good time for reflection, especially because a lunar eclipse illuminates things. Not just illuminates things, it brings things to a culmination. So that chapter, that Taurus Scorpio story that's been playing out since the end of 2021, you're going to find it coming to an end at the end of October. So definitely pay attention to what is revealed to you, because this is where things are going to be wrapping up and we're going to be moving on to something else. And that something else is the tag team eclipses going down in Aries and Libra. Okay. So one of the things that I was thinking about the other day that I definitely want to impart on you guys, right? Especially if you guys are very much interested in astrology and want to figure out how to implement it in your lives in a practical way. You're going to want to start to document events. And I mean by the day, right? It doesn't have to be some elaborate journaling thing. It could literally be like on your phone, right? And you're just like, yo, today this happened. Today I met this person, and put the date. And if you can, put the time, because that's how you're going to start to learn how the transits truly affect you. Now, you should definitely start doing it for these eclipses, right? These eclipses going forward, especially as they pertain to Aries and Libra. So think about what happened. Even if it's a quick conversation that you have with someone, just jot it down. If something major happens, definitely jot it down, because that's how, again, you're going to start to learn how the astrology affects you. And once you learn that, then you learn how to work with the energy. Right? That's the whole point of this. It's not just to have funny memes on Instagram, right? I'm not against memes, but that's doesn't even scratch the surface of what astrology is used for. Astrology is a tool for self-discovery. And understanding how astrology works in your life, it's like you're going to see how, okay, so the sun is in my second house, and yesterday I went on an interview for a new job, right? Second house has everything to do with money. It's your personal money, right? It's usually money derived from a job. So you going on an interview exactly coincides with the astrology, which is the sun in your second house, or the sun currently in whatever sign the second house is in your natal chart, right? So it's really important to start doing that, especially around the eclipses, because this is how you're going to get the knowledge of how astrology truly works. All right. So it's a lunar eclipse. So that means it's a full moon. So things are going to be revealed to you. Now, the full moon is happening, well, the full moon lunar eclipse is happening at the 5th degree of Taurus, which is the number of change. And because this is the ending of this Taurus Scorpio eclipse season that has lasted over the last 18 months, I feel like this change is going to be quite profound and kind of permanent in the sense that things going forward are not going to look like they were before. I think things are going to change in a very dramatic and profound kind of way. Okay. It's going to be conjunct Jupiter. So I feel like, especially if you've been working through like wherever Taurus and Scorpio are in your chart, if you've been working through issues with respect to those two houses or those two energies, this eclipse is going to bring you some blessings. It's going to expand whatever it is that you've been working on. Keyword is expand. It's going to expand, even if you haven't been working, even if you haven't, it's also going to expand the bullshit too, if that's what you're on. So keep that in mind. But it's going to be a time that's going to be relatively fruitful and it's going to feel good. I feel like it's going to be one of those situations where things come to sort of a happy ending. Now, it's also going to be opposite Mars. So there may be, it's like a happy ending, but there may be some little bit of conflict, a little bit of aggression, perhaps. Like it could be like a situation that is a little frustrating at first, but then turns out to be like it all ends up well. Like it all ends well, right? Things could happen that elicit anger within you, or perhaps this is a situation where you're finally speaking your piece and you're finally getting a lot of some anger out. It could work that way. It may just also be a situation where you feel irritable or frustrated or anything like that. But the presence of Jupiter, the presence of this lunar eclipse conjunct Jupiter is a big deal. And so I feel like, again, it's just blessings upon blessings, expansion. It's going to be good. It's going to allow you to soar, right? And move on to the next chapter. And that is the chapter that we are starting with the Aries and Libra axis with the next 18 months. So the tag team eclipses are going to be happening between Aries and Libra into 2025. Okay, so you're going to want to take a look at those spots on your natal chart, and that'll give you an idea of what is to come. But of course, if you want to know in detail what the eclipses have in store for you, definitely order my eclipse season report and get your life. Okay, links in the description box and also link to the video. And that is how we end the month, right? On a high note, right? With this eclipse. But like I said, October is intense. But I feel like once we get through October, life is going to start to look very different. Very, very different. And I'm pretty sure that you're starting to feel that way too. I'm not only feeling that way, I'm starting to see it. And it's all for the best. Regardless of how it's playing out in the present, it's definitely all for the best. All right. So now I'm going to be pulling cards for messages from spirit. Okay. And like I always say, I do these by sign. However, whatever resonates for you is your message. All right. So let's start with Aries. Let's see what Aries has going on for October. Oh. Okay. Ooh, okay, Aries. Got the 9 of Cups. Satisfaction, desire and satisfaction. Like that's all you this month. Like you are very much concerned and focused on feeling good, feeling satisfied. With your ruling planet going into Scorpio, that desire may almost consume you this month. So be mindful of like hedonistic behavior, like things like gluttony, just being excessively desirous, right? perhaps to your detriment, is not the way to go. However, for some, I'm hearing that it's time for you to get very real about what it is that you desire. For some of you, I'm seeing like, like a stove, a gas stove, like the pilot light. It's like someone's been trying to light the gas stove and it lights, but it hasn't been able to stay on. Okay. And I feel like October is going to be the month where this knob is going to be turned so much. And then finally the pilot light is going to come up and you're really going to be able to address and own what it is that you truly want. Some of you haven't been feeling like yourselves lately. You've been feeling like a shadow of yourself or a muted version of yourself. And I feel like October is going to be the month where you finally get back to yourself. And the road to getting back to yourself is really being true and honest about what it is that you want and owning what you want, standing in your truth unapologetically. And I feel like October is going to be the month where you do that. All right. Next up, we've got Taurus. Let's see what we've got for Taurus for this month. All right, Taurus, we've got two. So we've got the Hanged Man and we've got the High Priestess. Taurus, you guys are leveling up spiritually. Some of you are doing this deliberately, or Spirit is doing this. Well, you have a desire to have certain things, and Spirit is like, okay, for these things to happen in the way that you want them to, there needs to be a certain level of spiritual elevation. And that spiritual elevation is going to require a bit of sacrifice. So what I'm hearing is like, okay, you want to be in a certain tax bracket, right? But maybe you hang out with a whole bunch of broke ass people. And I'm not even talking about broke money. I'm talking about broke mindset. And Spirit is like, listen, I'm trying to level you up. I'm trying to give you the mindset of millions, the mindset of billions. But you got to sacrifice the environment, the people that you're hanging out with. So some of you, this may be a situation where you are moving away from certain people or certain situations. For others, I'm hearing initiation. And initiation doesn't necessarily mean like you're getting initiated into a certain ideology or faith. I feel like Spirit is going to be giving you situations that initiate you, that almost fast track your spiritual ascension. Okay. So October is going to be intense. A lot of focus on Spirit, a lot of focus on leveling up. But all you have to do is allow Spirit to order your steps and be receptive. But there's definitely a leveling up happening for you right now. Okay. Next up is Gemini. All right, Gemini. October for you is the Four of Swords. So this is healing, okay? And this is healing your mindset. For some, this is sort of also, I'm getting sort of a withdrawal. So what I mean by withdrawal is not necessarily being out and about like you usually are. I think that it's more so about sort of resting, recuperating, not being all over the place this month. There's a lot of healing that is happening with you at this time. And I think that you're very cognizant of it. And in being cognizant of it, I think that you're deciding to withdraw from people. You're deciding to not be so much. You don't want other people's energy sort of tainting your healing. The vision that I'm getting is like, you just took a shower. Ooh, I love this analogy. You're going to a white party. Okay. We all know how this is. You have your outfit laid out. You take a shower, you put on your white outfit. And once you put on your white outfit, what is it that you don't want? You don't want anyone to touch you. You don't want to touch anything. You don't want to go near any red wine, any soda, anything. Like, you want to keep your whites as white as possible. You want to stay as clean as possible. And I feel like in October, that's kind of what you're doing. It's like you don't want to take your cleanliness out there where people are slinging mud and having food fights and throwing ketchup and all this other stuff. They're like throwing paint and whatnot. Like, you don't want to get your whites dirty. And so you're healing this month. You're withdrawing. You're like, yeah, no, I don't think I need that right now. Some of you are really coming into yourself. Some of you are, I'm hearing like solitude, but it's a voluntary solitude because you understand that healing is necessary and that you kind of have to go it alone at this point. Okay. Next up is Cancer. Let's see what we've got for Cancer for October. Cancer, interesting. You've got the Hermit, okay? So you guys may be a little withdrawn also, but I don't necessarily get it. I don't necessarily get the sense that you're like not hanging out with anyone. It's not the same withdrawn as uh Gemini is. Your withdrawn is more like you're very much contemplative. Like you're sort of in your head a lot, but not because you're overthinking. Like there's something about you gaining wisdom, but this wisdom that you're gaining is actually wisdom that you already have. It's like remembering what you already know. Hopefully that makes sense. But you're really going within the recesses of your mind and gaining wisdom that way. It's almost like I'm seeing, like, even if you're out with people, you're kind of just staring into space in your own world, lost in your own thoughts. Very much a month of thinking, very much a month of planning, and very much a month of finding wisdom within yourself. Some of you, I'm hearing, you're going to be a lot more confident about yourself and your abilities. So rather than taking advice from other people, rather than just whatever other people have to say, you're like, oh yeah, no, so and so said this, so it must be true, or so and so said this, let me try it. No, I see you being like, no, I know this. I know what's best for me. I know what's best for this situation, and really standing firm in that because you're relying on your own wisdom this month. So, Cancer, I feel like by the end of October, you guys are going to be feeling very grounded in who you are and what you do and how you think. All right. It's almost like this boost of confidence comes to you because you're finally able to like trust yourself. Okay. Next up, we've got Leo. Let's see what we've got for Leo for October. You've got two. All right, Leo, we've got the Four of Pentacles and we've got the King of Cups. So, Leo, some of you there's two things it's like I feel like there's two different types of groups when it comes to Leo. The first group, you guys appear cool as a cucumber. You're cool, calm, and collected. Like there's nothing that can rock you, right? But on the inside, it's like everything is rocking you. It's like you're putting up this facade because you either just don't want to do the inner work or the inner work is too hard. So you're just like, okay, whatever, like sort of ignoring your emotions. And that's not good because it's creating this inner turmoil. I'm being shown, like, ducks when they're on the water. You know how when you look at them from the surface, they're just gliding along. It looks so seamless, right? But then under the surface, they are paddling like this. Like it's like chaos. It's chaotic. So if you're not willing to do that work, and remember I said the astrology of the month, specifically with Mars in Scorpio, Mercury in Scorpio, and the Sun in Scorpio, it's all about shadow work. If you're not willing to do the shadow work, it's only going to cause more inner turmoil within you. That's one group of Leos. The other group of Leos, you guys have actually like really done the work. You guys are really you're cool, calm, and collected because you truly are. You've been able to examine what you've been holding on to, right? The emotional baggage that you have, like you're holding on to it. Like the emotional baggage that you had, you examined it. And you decided to let all this go. And that's why you're sitting like this, because you truly are cool, calm, and collective, like nothing phases you. All right. So for those who fall in that group, congratulations. I feel like October is going to be a month that's not going to be as jarring for you. I think that it's going to be a month that goes relatively smoothly, considering the fact that there are two eclipses. I feel like whatever happens at the eclipses, you're going to be equipped to handle it. Whereas if you fall in the first group and you haven't done the work, these eclipses are potentially going to rock your world, and not necessarily in a good way. I mean, ultimately, it's for your good. However, it could be really emotionally traumatic and it could be tumultuous. So it behooves you to sort of get ahead of it and start doing the work. Okay. All right. That was Leo. So now we are up to Virgo. Let's see what we have for Virgo for October. All right, Virgo. We've got the Three of Pentacles. So you guys are building this month. You are building something great with the help of other people. Now, while the sun is still in Libra and Mercury is in Libra, I feel like you guys are really going to be tapping into the energy of collaboration and collaborating with people to build major things. Like it could be like a whole construction development. I'm using that as a metaphor, although it could be literal, but you are working with others to build something that lasts. Now, what I'm hearing is make sure that you put this together in a contract that makes sense. People love to talk about ideas. People love to talk about collaboration. But when it comes to money, when it comes to credit, those are the two things that people argue over the most. And you need to be very clear on that. Particularly with Venus and Virgo, Venus having to do with money, you're going to want to memorialize any sort of collaboration that you have going on. You're going to want to memorialize it in a contract or an agreement, okay? But I feel like you could be negotiating a contract for something major, putting a contract together for something major with other people. But I do think that October is going to be a month filled with productive and lucrative work for you, okay? So enjoy it. And remember that no man is an ocean. No man is an ocean. I meant to say no man is an island. Islands are in oceans anyway, but you know what I mean. You guys tend to be very solitary, and sometimes working in groups, not really your thing, especially because you kind of think that everyone else is stupid and they don't know how to do things. This is going to be the time where you don't want to be solitary. You're going to want to work with other people because that's the secret. That's the key to building something great and lasting. Okay. All right. Next up, we've got Libra. Let's see what we've got for Libra for October. Okay, Libra, we've got the star. Okay. So you guys are definitely hopeful, optimistic. You guys are very much looking toward the future. And this makes sense because at least for the first part of the month, the sun is still in your sign. So it is your season, right? If you are an October Libra, happy birthday. Okay. Cleansing though. I do see some tears flowing this month, but it's necessary. Something about it's like you have a goal and perhaps you are thinking about what it has taken to reach that goal. Perhaps you hit maybe a bump in the road, but it doesn't phase you, but it may bring some tears. I do see some cathartic crying. Like I see someone who is like, oh, I needed that cry. I needed to get that out. So there's a sort of release in October that you guys may be experiencing, but it's like you still have your eyes to the sky. You still have your eyes to the stars. I feel like you are very much centered on life's bigger picture and what it is that you want to achieve, right? And understanding your place in everything, meaning that understanding your place in the universe, understanding why things happen the way that they happen, even if you don't necessarily understand it cerebrally, like understanding that, okay, sometimes, there's no rhyme or reason to things. Sometimes things happen because God ordains it that way, right? Understanding that, but still being hopeful. But yeah, I feel like it's a month of cleansing. I feel like it's a month of letting out some pent up emotions and ultimately feeling better. And when you feel better and you have your eyes on the prize, you have your eyes on the bigger picture, you're setting yourself up for the rest of the year where you can actually execute some of those things that you're trying to accomplish. So whatever you're feeling in October, let it out, release it. If you need to cry, if you need to scream, if you need to, I was going to say strangle somebody, but please don't do that. Like if you really just need to get out your emotions, get out your emotions, because I feel like you definitely need to do that this month. All right. Next up is Scorpio. Let's see what we have for Scorpio for October. All right, Scorpio, we've got the 9 of Wands. You guys are very defensive this month. Defensive, like you've spent all this time building something. You really put in the work, and I get the sense that it's something tangible. So you've put in a lot of effort, and I'm hearing that you are willing to defend this thing to the death. And I feel like I'm hearing, like, I don't know if it's a legal situation where you're going to need Maybe you're initiating a legal situation against someone. Like maybe you think that someone stole your copyright or your idea or something like that. There could be a legal situation, or there could be, like, I'm hearing worthy opponent. So there could be this sparring that you have with a competitor. So maybe this competitor is trying to steal your idea, or maybe they're encroaching on your territory or something like that. I see you being quite defensive. Like, no, I built this shit. I've done the work. Like, this is my shit. You can't come in here. You can't just say this. You can't just try to do this. So I see it being a bit of a defensive kind of month. But it's not to say that it's going to be like that's going to be the crux of the month. But I think that is a specific issue that you may be dealing with in October. This person is a worthy opponent, but I'm hearing that the both of you have things that you can learn from the other. Keep in mind that at least while the sun is still in Libra, you're going to want to, I'm not saying make this person a friend, but it's kind of the situation where you want to keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. Like if you two can learn from each other, then it sort of de-escalates the situation, right? So I feel like that's sort of what's going on in October. But I feel like you're going to have this worthy opponent who may be threatened or is threatening what you've built. Okay. All right. Next up, we've got Sagittarius. Let's see what we've got for Sagittarius for October. Okay, Sagittarius. I'm not even going to tell you what I'm hearing right now. We've got the 7 of Swords. Some of y'all are being really sneaky this October. And I kind of want to have this voice because that's kind of how you guys are going to be operating. Remember I told you October is a real sexy kind of month. And some of y'all are doing a lot of this. A lot of this sneaking around, a lot of this whatever. Hey, I'm not here to judge. Do you, boo? Okay? But I see some sneaking around. I'm seeing some secrets. I'm seeing some mysteries. I'm seeing some of that kind of activity. All right? And so it could go either way. You're either the one doing this or you're the one who's completely oblivious to this, okay? But either way, there's some stuff going on that you may not be privy to, that you may want to keep hidden, all right? Just make sure, okay, so I want you to take a good look at the depiction of this card. This guy, so you see this camp right here, right? This is like an army camp. And this guy sort of came in and stole the army's swords while they weren't looking, okay? But keep in mind, you're just one person and they're a whole army. Meaning that what you think, first of all, I'm hearing 2 things. What's done in the dark will always come to light. So keep that in mind. Number 2, the backlash may be a lot bigger than you anticipate. So you might want to do like a cost benefit analysis to see if the juice is worth the squeeze, because the backlash from whatever this kind of activity going on, it might be a lot more than you anticipate. So just think before you act and this is chess, right? Try to think a couple of moves ahead. No one's saying you can't do what you want to do. No one's saying that. But just be mindful of what the consequences are, okay? For others, this is letting you know. And I feel like if you are the one who's oblivious to this, you're going to be oblivious to this in October, unless you're watching this and you're like, maybe I should investigate this more. But I feel like there's going to be stuff in October that you have no idea what's going on. And it's not in the month of October that you're going to find out either. It's probably going to be months in the future where whatever's going on now in October is going to come to light. All right. So just keep that in mind. All right. Interesting. Next up, we've got Sagittarius. Let's see what we've got for Sag. Was that Sagittarius? No. Capricorn. Okay. Let me do that again. Capricorn. Let's see what we've got for Capricorn for October. Capricorn, we've got the Ace of Swords. You guys are being extremely decisive in October. Some of you guys are going to be making some major decisions in October. And these decisions are going to be cut and dry. There's not going to be any wavering. There's not going to be any, well, I don't know. Like I'm seeing like, boom, cutting just like that. And these are major decisions. These are decisions that could possibly, I don't want to say negatively affect other people, but they could possibly negatively affect other people. Like, let's say you decide to quit your job, right? Let's say you decide to quit your job and you start a business. If you have a partnership, if you have a family, that could possibly potentially negatively affect them, if you don't have the same income coming in, right? It's one of those kind of things. And you guys are also being given opportunities to sharpen your sword. It's like spirit is giving you this sword, and the sword can be communication. It could be the way that you think, and you're able to sharpen it this month. So there may be some new skills that you're learning. And I'm hearing some of these skills may be tied to this decision that you have to make. So you're given the opportunity to learn new skills, but there's this, I'm seeing like something on the chopping block, like something being chopped, like something is very cut and dry. Something is being like separated. Something is being like cut. As all I keep seeing is like chopping. So you may be ending something. You may be cutting certain people off. For some of you, I'm hearing also like a certain habit, a certain bad habit. This may be the month where you decide, you know what, this is it. Like, let's say you're a smoker. I feel like in October, you're like, yo, I don't want to do this anymore. And you really try to cut perhaps cold turkey or wean yourself off them or whatever. But regardless, I feel like in October, a major decision is going to be made. You might be learning new skills, sharpen your sword, and definitely cutting out things that no longer serve you. Okay. Next up, we've got Aquarius. Let's see what we've got for Aquarius for October. Okay, Aquarius. Ooh, Aquarius. You've got the Lovers and you've got the Nine of Cups. Okay. This is about making choices that make you feel really good. This could be in the romantic sense, right? With the Lovers card here. But I also feel like there is this, I'm getting the word autonomy. Like the overwhelming sense I'm getting of the Lovers card is of making a choice. And you're finally putting yourself first and focusing on what you really want. And this could be in the love department. I see you just focused on feeling good, on feeling satisfied, on feeling loved, like really being in your emotions, which is a little atypical for you because you guys tend to be a little emotionally detached. You tend to be more intellectual than emotional. But I feel like in October, you're going to be tapped more into your emotions. And the emotions you're going to be tapped into are the emotions of feeling good and making choices that reflect that feeling good that you feel on the inside, right? So I feel like it's going to be a very pleasant month for you guys. For some, I'm hearing eclipse season, depending on where the eclipse is going down in your natal chart. Eclipse season could bring something surprising, pleasantly surprising when it comes to relationships or love. Okay. So by and large, I feel like October is looking very pleasant for you, Aquarius. I see you guys feeling really good. I like that for you. All right. And finally, last but certainly not least, we've got Pisces. Let's see what we've got for Pisces for October. Pisces. Okay, we've got the Ace of Cups. I'm seeing like a well, like a well in the ground, and it's finally like, it finally has water in it. It's been dry for a while, and now there's finally water in it. Relationships are looking good. There's this newness when it comes to emotions and perhaps relationships that you are experiencing this month, perhaps after a dry spell. For some, I'm seeing and hearing an overwhelming sense of peace and calmness. Things just feel good. They feel peaceful. It's not overly emotional. I don't think it's going to be a situation where it's like, oh my gosh, like just gushing, right? I feel like there's this calmness, this stillness, this peace that you're feeling this month. And I see that you guys are just feeling good. I feel like Spirit is going to be giving you situations that foster peace in your life, that foster good feelings, that allow you to, you guys are the fish. And this well that I'm seeing right now, it's like almost like a pond full of koi fish. And that's sort of you. You're sort of in your element this month and feeling good. I like that for you as well. It's a great place to be this month. All right, my friends. So that concludes this month's edition of the monthly Astro Forecast. I sincerely hope that you were able to get at least one important piece of information that you can use going into this intense, spicy, shifty, and sexy month of October. All right. For all the information on my products and services, the links are going to be in the description box below. All right, my loves. I wish you nothing but the best for October. Have an amazing month, and I will see you guys next time. All right.